go. I am here with Traevor Carlton and we are going to talk to him about how he's been dealing with the pandemic. He is a musician currently residing in Turlock, California.
Yes.
Yeah.
Over by Sand State.
Yeah, nice. That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So Traevor, how you been, man? How you been holding up?
I've been doing well, actually. I've been keeping busy writing music. I've been keeping busy creating things, singing, spending all my time kind of doing that. At first, it was a bit difficult to transition into a lockdown mode, but with everything else going on, right now, I feel a sense of hope. I feel there's a lot of change happening really quickly. So I'm super excited about that.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your work and yourself, and just kind of how your music has developed, over time.
Sure. So myself, I grew up in Fremont, California. I was born in the Bay Area. I sort of grew up around the radio. I grew up around pop music and dance music, which was really, really big over in the Bay Area back then. From there, I started to, I mean, when I was young in school, I started singing, and I would sing in school productions and stuff. And yeah, from that point, when I was about 10 or 11, I started producing, and I've been doing it ever since. Oh, connection? Oh.
Yeah, you're fine.
So yeah, from when I was about 10, and then when I was about 20, I started to write lyrics and add vocals to my work, and then I realized, okay, there's a whole avenue that I can go through that's not instrumental, that's not this experimental weird stuff. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, okay, I can do pop music and dance music together. So that's basically what I've been doing since then.
Nice.
Is dance and pop and R&B stuff.
Yeah, I really like your Photographs album. That
I
was listening to that all the other day. Yeah. I love your very it's very laid back, very relaxing, kind of music, and the R&B. You kind of really feel the 90s vibes, and just how it all has influenced your work. So what do you normally do during the day, besides write music and produce stuff?
So since I graduated, I've taken on many different jobs in many different roles. I've been on political campaigns. I've been on, I interned with the Democratic Party. I also have worked as an administrative assistant with the county and with different organizations. So right now, nothing, since I sort of am transitioning between work, but yeah, generally speaking, I'm doing administrative work, taking phone calls and stuff like that.
So with everything going on, how has the political campaigning and all that stuff been?
It's been, during the lockdown, it's been really weird, because I'm used to having people on the ground, being on the ground talking to people, but now it's Zoom calls like this, just in general, and phone banking, which is, I mean, somewhat effective, but I can't wait till all this is done so I can be on the ground again. I miss that.
Yeah. So you've been making music for the better part of 20 years-ish?
Oh, I would say longer. Yeah,
longer.
Something like that. Yeah.
And you have been mostly publishing your music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with everything that has happened with the pandemic and not being able to do live shows, how have you, I guess, continued your producing and showing your music not able to do?
Yeah, so electronic music, I think there's some connection.
No, it just froze on my end too.
Okay, I was yeah, so the pandemic, things were a little bit different. The route to promotion was different, because you can't really play a workstation live. So I've always relied heavily on internet promotion and internet whatnot. And right now, I think for electronic artists, I think things are a lot better, since people are home and you can actually reach them through the internet. So there's been a lot of I mean, I just dropped a mixtape a while ago, and it was instantly okay, I'm getting plays and stuff. So I don't think it's really changed that much, except for the fact that people are now online and they see online as a viable medium to promotion. Yeah, so
has it increased the amount of people that have been listening and following your music since everyone's been home, or do you think it's
absolutely?
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I've noticed that there's people have a lot more time. like actually listen to the whole. I mean, my songs are long, so they listen to like the whole 5 or 6 minutes through, where before they would be like, okay, here's like, 3 minutes or whatever. So I can see those analytics.
Nice.
And it's like, okay, those people are actually paying attention now. So yeah, definitely, it's, I think, been a net positive.
What tools have you been using to promote your stuff? Is it just like Facebook? I know you're on Bandcamp and Spotify and that stuff. How have you been promoting your stuff? Just like
so tools for promoting. Before I've run Google Ads. I generally in dance music and so generally every now and then I'll throw in a Google ad or something. I'm not. There's no shame in saying that I pay for promotion, but every now and then I'll do that. But with electronic music, generally speaking, you like link up. I call them like field team, like people on the ground. There's like DJs, there's promoters that will send them to clubs. So you'll traditionally send them the records and then they'll play it, and then positive or negative feedback. So I usually go that route for promoting electronic stuff, or like I said, a paid ad, or I'll go to forums and you swap like tracks every now and then, and you comment on each other. You build a community. So that's how I promote.
Nice. I know. So you were part of the Shire's online kind of pandemic performance as well as like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a blast.
Yeah. How did that go? Like, how did you become a part of that?
So I was asked to do it like a week before everything happened, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I'll attempt something. I've never done that before, like where I try to perform live on a virtual space. So I actually pre-recorded that video, which is why everything fell out of sync. But other than that, it was a really good experience. I was able to showcase a lot of new stuff that I don't think I would have, like, until I dropped a new album, which is coming, I think, later in the year. But I was able to, that was a really unique experience that I'm happy that I was a part of.
Yes. Do you think with the pandemic, because there's more people listening and because you have more time that you can like experiment with stuff, do you think it has kind of maybe opened up a new like avenue for creativity? Like maybe you don't care if it's like the best thing ever, you just kind of put things out there. Is that something have you spent more time concentrating to make things perfect because you have the time to do it?
Oh no, actually I've been like writing way more, and generally speaking, like up to this point, like with photographs and the newer stuff since photographs, things have been like taking a more musically complex approach. But like with the lockdown and with it seemingly every day there's been something new happening in the world, it's like, you know what, I kind of want to just like take a step back and write good like pop music, like to disassociate from everything going on. So that's kind of really where my headspace has been, as like writing defiantly joyful music during a pretty heavy period in human history.
Using that escapism to kind of run away from current events.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So besides writing music and producing it, and how have you stayed busy otherwise? Is there anything that you have like that you would recommend people getting into or doing that has helped you get through?
Oh, sure. I mean, besides like watching Netflix documentaries, I try to get out every chance I get to go to like within nature and take photographs, or to go places and just try to get pictures of things and moments. Right now is like a really weirdly historical time I think we're living in, like with the pandemic. So I took some photos like at the stores of like empty toilet paper shelves, like stuff like that, like just the things that we're living in, so I can look back in like 10 years and say, wow, that was a really messed up time. Yeah. we lived in 2020. Like I went out to a couple of the local protests and took pictures there, which were powerful, very powerful.
Which one did you attend out here?
I went to Turlock, and then I stopped at the one on McHenry. Nice. That happened, what was it, like a week ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. I started with that one, and then like right when they started walking down McHenry, went back downtown. But yeah, I was incredibly like just impressed by the amount of people that showed up for just that in general, especially in the Valley. I was not expecting
Oh
that
yeah, same.
response. Yeah, yeah.
No, in
Oakdale,
Turlock. Oh yeah, I didn't go to Oakdale. That one kind of,
how,
I think, stuff went down, but I mean, I'm scared of Oakdale anyway as just point of principle, but that showed up as well. There was like maybe 500.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have, I guess, anything you like with everything going on? Do you have tools that you've been using that have helped you get through everything? You said you're in between jobs right now, or is there anything that's helped you kind of find new solutions, or have you been making ends meet with everything going on?
So I mean, with the financial situation, I'm actually blessed enough to have a place to be at home. So I haven't left the house, so I'm still at home here. So I'm fine on that end. But for tools to help cope, I mean, I was like, okay, when the lockdown happened, I'm gonna start like journaling everything to see what happens. So I've been like every day since March 19th, I've written down something to be like, okay, on this day this happened, or this day this happened, and I think that that's especially given how stuff changes every day. I feel like that even just looking back 2 months ago, I was like, wow, this happened back then. So I mean, to document everything is my way of coping through it, so I could have a record of, okay, wow, I lived through that.
Yeah, like it's been better, it's been worse. This seems like it's been the worst that, I mean, in my adult life, definitely the worst time, we've ever faced, with just the civil rights, coming back to the head
Oh
that
yeah.
everyone, it's weird how like we live in California, and you know, like most of my family's also from the Bay Area, and I was born out there, but moved out here as a like when I was like 3. My parents were
Awesome.
those commuter babies, um, and to kind of see how, I guess, we think we're immune to civil rights for some odd reason because we're Californian, and like how like,
Yeah.
oh, like everything's fine, don't worry about it, and you see everything that happening, and like the hate that spews out because of all of it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, none of us are immune to it. It's happening everywhere, um, and it's nice to see people coming out. It's kind of like that double-sided sword. Like if we weren't all home right now, would we care as much as we do?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, and it seems like because of that we have all taken the time to actually sit out and learn more about what's going on, and I guess become more aware of your surroundings. Like just hearing the verbiage I used to hear prior to like the riots and the protests, like I guess I never even thought about people's like microaggressions towards like, and like, man, it's crazy to hear those things now and be like, why did you never think twice about those things? Yeah. So
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. I think I had back in 2015, I had attended a couple of the marches back then after Ferguson and after Eric Gardner and all that. The conversation now is just, it feels fundamentally different. It feels like we're in a different headspace as a society. We're in a space now where we're not going to, call like wig out when somebody is kneeling at a football game. Like we're in a, like back then the conversation was more like that, like how dare you, like you ungrateful people, like, which, and now it's a lot more like, okay, we're at a place of understanding. And I really do actually think the pandemic has brought that out because people are now can actually see it unfold, and people are, they're connected way more, I think, with the world now through the internet and through um, media than they
yeah,
were before when they were distracted at work or school or.
yeah, it's like before, like you wouldn't sit there and watch the full video, like of George Floyd. Like a lot of us would just scroll through and not see it, but like now that we're all
Yeah.
home and you just keep hearing the same things about it. It kind of forces you to have to watch what's happening, and then
Oh, yeah, definitely.
you have to go back and now like, oh, like this isn't the first time this has happened. This has happened all these other times. Like why is this so much different? And it's yeah, just think that this had been going on the whole time and no one took the time out to, I guess, change or think differently about it.
Yeah, and I also think what's different this time is back then in 2015, not everything was caught on video. Like now, everything is caught on video. So like, if somebody has a particular moment where they're like, okay, you know what, this protest turned violent or whatever, like you can timestamp it and go, okay, it was like actually at 7:30 p.m. like such and such event happened and that triggered it. And more often than not, how do I word this? Each one of those timestamps breaks the narrative of who incites violence.
Yep. Yeah, and it's also kind of crazy because you go straight live with things too, right? So
people, exactly.
Yeah, and I think people have learned how to screen record things so they can keep those live events if they get taken down, which seem to happen so much. I guess when you go to look for a video, it'd be taken down like because of a violent thing, and you're like, well, yeah, like that's why it's being brought up and shown live, because it needs to be documented that this happened. But like they were erasing, yeah. So yeah, it's insane, man.
It's weird times we live in, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you're staying productive. I'm glad you're staying safe.
Thank you.
Super glad that I got to have you on the show, man. It's been really nice talking to you.
And thank you for creating this platform for like all of us who are trapped at home with nowhere else to really go.
I'm really happy people are actually being a part of it, because I was kind of scared that everyone would be like, I don't need that.
Yeah, back when things were normal, I had at one point brought up this thing of like, oh, the Modesto arts community and the Valley arts community needs like this online space because everything is kind of done in person. And I feel like there's a beauty to doing things in person and like going and seeing people live, but it's not forever. Like online, it's forever. Like you can put things up there and you build something that is there forever. And I'm glad that you're at least one of the first few people to really push this forward, to have an online presence for the Valley art community.
I mean, to be honest with you, as someone who grew up in the Valley, as a visual artist myself, documentation is what gets, like grants written, like that's how you show like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Places. We are terrible at documenting everything we do. And I was hoping that, yeah, I mean, the good stuff we do.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all on the worst list for a lot of things, but like that's not the type of document that we want. Yeah. But yeah, it is nice to have people respond so well to it. I'm really looking forward to doing the live performance aspects of it, which I'm still kind of working out the kinks with.
Oh, nice.
With everything that happened, I didn't really want to broadcast like art stuff happening in the middle of the riots and the protests going on, especially like the first week of them. Yeah, I will definitely be contacting you when I get that all hooked up and ready to go.
Oh, and thank you. And I think also, even like if you have a channel to like definitely broadcast, if you have the channel, definitely broadcast like the art, the protest art, the things people are saying, because that's hugely important, is to have a medium. And conventional media is kind of not trying to do that. So right now it's up to like people who feel strongly and have the platform to have this sort of digital activism, I guess.
Yeah. Independent media is, I think, what we all need right now. And I think the mainstream media has literally been scripted. I've seen like posts where there's like 30 or 40 channels where they're all saying the exact same thing at the exact same time, and they posted them all together with the exact same word. And it's like, how does why would everyone say the same thing about this? This doesn't make any sense. Like,
yeah, I saw that on Facebook maybe like a year back. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very important, and I'm definitely going to be using this to broadcast for civil rights activists and stuff like that as well. I've been looking into a few other artists lately as well. So we have a couple people coming on from. One of them's in Boston, and then another one he's just got his master's degree from Washington, D.C. out there. So we're looking forward to talking to him and seeing what's happening too. So.
And I'm looking forward to hearing that conversation as well.
Yeah. Nico's a great guy. I don't know if you know Nico McDaniel, but he's a great guy. Sweet, man. Well, thank you very much again for coming on. And again, stay safe, man. And I will definitely be contacting you about the live performance stuff.
Sounds good. And thank you for having me on once again.
No problem. Thanks a lot.
Yes.